Hey guys, Zack here, and this is my review of Danny Phantom. Okay, so this episode, the Fright Before Christmas, is the Christmas special. Is the special where, Danny is forced to learn the true meaning of Christmas because he accidentally pisses off a ghost that decides to take revenge against him. So, and essentially the special is about essentially that's what the special is, because we find out why Danny does not like Christmas in this episode. The episode does open up with them at the Amity Park Mall, with obviously Sam being very surprisingly more cheery than she should be. But with us also finding out that she doesn't actually celebrate Christmas. She celebrates Hanukkah, but she does like the idea of Christmas. She doesn't like celebrating. She doesn't like being merry around the holidays, which of course everybody's very confused by. Well, Tucker notes that Danny is looking a lot more glum than he should be, and of course what we find out is that Danny actually hates Christmas because, according to him, his parents have ruined Christmas. As we find out, every single year on Christmas, his parents get into this big debate about whether or not Santa Claus is real or not, with obviously Jack being the former and Maddie being the latter. With Jack, of course, trying to insist that Santa's real, while Maddie is, of course, trying to insist that Santa would be killed by the obviously realistic, forces that would be at play for him traveling around the globe at that speed to get to everybody in one night. Obviously, she does not believe that would be a thing. And of course, that's been a thing that a lot of skeptics of Santa have brought up. Obviously, that I should mention, the entire idea of Santa Claus is that he's supposed to be, the belief that somebody is out there doing good for everybody, so that everybody can be merry on Christmas. And obviously, the idea is that you're supposed to embody the ideals of Santa Claus to make sure that everybody is having a Merry Christmas. That is the entire point of Santa. And although I should mention, there was a time where Santa was real. He's kind of loosely based on a man named St. Nicholas, who unfortunately passed away many, many centuries ago. He's unfortunately no longer alive anymore. But he was the guy who ultimately perpetuated the original myth of Christmas, about how he was the original Santa Claus. He would leave people gifts in their stockings and other things. So it says for kids who couldn't afford them, essentially, he just left them presents in their shoes or wherever, and then would leave. And of course that wound up being the basis of what the modern day Santa is based on. But of course, case in point, neither of the parents bring this up. They're just arguing. So Danny unfortunately gets so frustrated that he just grabs a box of Christmas decorations that he has, proceeds to leave. And it's at this point where he starts blasting them. He just starts chucking them and using them for target practice, pointing out that he gets sick and tired of them arguing over whether or not Santa is real every year, and just is frustrated by the whole thing. So he's just blasting it blasting stuff over and over, specifically Christmas stuff. But in cases at this point where we see a floating manor and discover a ghost called the Ghost Rider, who's named after a thing where an author doesn't want to actually, be credited for their works. They'll be credited as a Ghost Rider. So, that's the thing. But in case the Ghost Rider is excited because he finally finished his compilation of Christmas poems, the Fright Before Christmas, which is the titular thing of the episode. But as he's celebrating about that and is about to bring it out to publish it, he winds up getting a full blast from Danny blasting one of his decorations, and accidentally destroys his book. With of course, Danny pointing out that was an accident, but of course the Ghost Rider proceeds to fly off the handle at him, pointing out that if he realized what he just done, pointing out that he just blasted the Ghost Rider's only copy of his Christmas poems that he'd written. And Danny, once he hears that he blasted a Christmas poem, is overjoyed, pointing out that while he admits that it was an accident, he doesn't really feel bad about doing it because he hates Christmas. But this, of course, causes the Ghost Rider to become even more angry at him for seemingly having no remorse for what he just did, and then decides that the best way to the best way to get revenge is if Danny has destroyed his Christmas poem, then Danny will be his new Christmas poem. At which point, he proceeds to trap Danny inside the second edition of his Christmas poem, called The Fright Before Christmas 2, which from this point onward, causes Danny to be forced to rhyme whenever he speaks. And even when Danny doesn't speak, and it's at this point and somebody else will interject to add rhymes. So unfortunately, Danny is stuck and also trying to explain that there's a ghost causing it. But of course, he can't get anybody to actually listen to it. But of course, Danny is very much adamant about the fact that he doesn't like Christmas and also doesn't want to rhyme. So of course, the Ghost Rider continues to force him to rhyme. At which point, we do find out why Danny actually hates Christmas, because obviously, what happened was the first of many Christmases was that Danny unfortunately got peed on by a dog while his parents were arguing about Christmas, and that wound up setting a bad example for his family. And then another instance is when they were so busy arguing that they accidentally brought the turkey back to life as like a zombie turkey, which Jazz had to fight off with a broom. So overall, Danny has not had a very good run of Christmases. So of course that's why he doesn't like it very much. But of course, the Ghost Rider also proceeds to point out that he obviously understands that they dislike Christmas, but also decides to add insult to injury by turning a bunch of deer into ghost deer, which of course Jack and Maddie unfortunately are forced to hunt, with Jack claiming that it is in fact living proof that the ghosts that Santa Claus could in fact have traveled around the world in one night if he has ghost reindeer, but of course Maddie doesn't want to hear it, and of course, at this point where everybody proceeds to go home to the houses to celebrate Christmas, we're continuing the tradition. Jack and Maddie are continuing to argue about whether or not Santa Claus is real, with Jack demonstrating the point by climbing down the chimney, to point out that a fat man could actually fit down the chimney. But, of course, Maddie is once again skeptical, pointing out that he couldn't possibly do all of that in a single night, again. Which, and of course, this causes Danny to become increasingly frustrated with their arguing, and eventually it gets to the point where Danny decides to just storm out and leave, pointing out that he's sick and tired of their back and forth every year with is Santa real, is Santa not real, and he's just sick of it, so he leaves. And of course, Jazz proceeds to add her own little rhyme to the Ghost Rider's rhyme, pointing out that she understands Danny's upset. And does urge him to go and take a walk, pointing out that obviously he needs that to take a break. But then discovers all the presents suddenly flying out of their chimney, and just believing Danny is the one behind it when she sees him in his ghost form to take off, believes he's finally gone too far. At which point Danny is flying through the air trying to figure out trying to just clear his head and get away from the whole Christmas thing. But it's at this point where he gets pelted by presents. And wondering what exactly the Ghost Rider is planning, the Ghost Rider explains that he's making a scene and blaming Danny for it. Essentially, he's trying to make it look like Danny stole all their presents because he's a no good Scrooge. But of course, Danny adamantly denies it, and of course everybody gets very upset at him. So Danny of course flees and then proceeds to turn back into his human form, and does figure out a way to potentially get around the whole ghost rhyme thing about the whole Christmas special that he's stuck in, and decides that he can't be stuck in a Christmas rhyme if he's in a non-Christmas home. So he goes to Sam's, who celebrates Hanukkah. But what we find out is that Sam is upset because apparently all of their presents have been stolen as well, even though they don't celebrate Christmas. And it's at this point where the Ghost Rider decides to mess with Danny even further by making it so that Sam thinks Danny is the one to blame. And Danny, of course, does accuse Danny, pointing out that he's the Christmas Scrooge. Obviously, he's the only person he could be. But the Ghost Rider, deciding that he's still not quite done with Danny, then decides to create an army of toys, which then combines into a giant nutcracker, which of course Danny realizes he needs to fight, and starts blasting with his ghost rays, pointing out that he really think it won't stand his way, pointing out that he'll just keep blasting it until it's done, until done and defeated. But then it's revealed why the Ghost Rider specifically picked toys. As it turns out, the Nutcracker is composed of a lot of toys that people were going to get as gifts, or other things that people obviously were given as gifts long ago. Case in point, Jazz's teddy bear is among the things that was destroyed, and she is obviously very visibly pissed. So Of course, Danny realizes that he needs to leave, and it is at this point where everybody has since turned against him, except for one little boy, who of course is not, very visibly. He, of course, does think Danny's cool, but this is where the Ghost Rider declares that he'll have to change that. At which point, he brings everybody's Christmas tree to life, which starts attacking the town, and Danny, of course, is forced to fight them, and of course, Jack and Maddie immediately turn on the ghost shield outside their house, but Maddie also points out that her son is out there. So she immediately starts dual wielding axes and runs out to go and find Danny, cutting through haunted Christmas trees as she goes. Meanwhile, Danny is currently trying to fight off against the trees, but he's clearly having difficulty because he's quickly outnumbered. Of course, at this point where Maddie proceeds to holler out to him, pointing out that if he's nearby, just scream. At which point, Danny remembers he has his ghostly wail, and while he kind of knocks himself out of his ghost form using it, he is successfully able to destroy all of the trees and get rid of them. But obviously, this winds up causing another further problem because in addition to destroying everybody's Christmas trees, he also destroys everybody's Christmas lights, which means Christmas has effectively been completely ruined by Danny. There is now no longer any presents. There are no Christmas trees to put the presents under. There are no longer Christmas lights for people to decorate after. And unfortunately, Danny has essentially ruined Christmas for everybody. So, at which point Maddie proceeds to bring him home, pointing out that she's just happy he's okay. And of course, well, obviously it becomes a very somber Christmas. That Christmas has since been ruined because Danny destroyed everything. Danny, realizing that the Ghost Rider is ultimately to blame for everything that happens, pointing out that the Ghost Rider orchestrated things in such a way that Danny would ruin Christmas, he proceeds to go into the Ghost Zone to confront him. And of course, the Ghost Rider continues to write his story around that, even though Danny knows exactly where to find the Ghost Rider. The Ghost Rider does anticipate this and creates a bubble and sends Danny to a lair containing all of his worst enemies. He includes essentially everybody he's fought up until this point that is, able to show up at this point. Obviously, you got Technus, you got Desiree, you've got Skulker, you got everybody. And of course, Danny is prepared to fight, but then discovers, much to his surprise, that they're actually happy to see him and offer him to take part of the festivities, offering him some Christmas cookies, offering him to be part of their Christmas exchange. And Danny's very visibly confused as to what's going on. So it's this point where they proceed to explain that they go on to explain that the ghosts have a Christmas truce. Essentially, every year on Christmas, they hold an annual truce where, regardless of whether or not you're enemies or friends, everybody's allowed to gather under one roof and make merry on Christmas. Which does go some way to explain why they're both happy to see Danny, but also why Walker is there of all people, because obviously Walker is just as much their enemy as he is Danny's. He's kind of an anti-villain. He loves rules and structure, and hates the other ghosts for not helping him uphold rules and structure. So obviously he's an enemy to everyone. But this of course causes Danny to become happy because he realizes he's not about to be destroyed, while the Ghost Rider is very visibly upset because obviously the truce is holding, much to his surprise and frustration. But it's this point where Danny proceeds to explain that that he realizes that every ghost has to hold this tradition. He points out that every ghost, and of course Walker does point out that it is in fact a rule that every ghost has to uphold this tradition to, celebrate Christmas without causing any trouble for anybody else. At which point, Danny proceeds to explain to them that one ghost isn't upholding the tradition, the Ghost Rider. He proceeds to explain that the Ghost Rider has trapped them all in a Christmas poem because Danny ruined his previous poem, and when everybody hears that, all of his enemies proceed to team up against him, to team up with him, to go up against the Ghost Rider and help him fix the Christmas poem and stop the Ghost Rider from destroying everything. And of course, the Ghost Rider, realizing now that they're about to confront him, then he writes in his play that everybody suddenly forgot the Christmas truce and starts attacking each other, which of course does buy the Ghost Rider valuable time because it means that they aren't able to attack him. But Danny eventually is able to break them out of the loop of being forced to rhyme and attack each other by smashing an orange against Walker's face, which, of course, we find out nothing. Obviously, an orange notoriously does not rhyme with anything. So because of that, they're broken out of the rhyme and are finally able to give the Ghost Rider his much-needed comeuppance. And Danny, with that, then proceeds to destroy the Ghost Rider's keyboard, but then discovers to his horror that he's still talking in rhyme. At which point the Ghost Rider explains that, Danny is not going to be able to end his Christmas play, because as he explains, the Ghost Rider, obviously, as he explains, there are only two ways to end the Christmas play. To end the Christmas story, the Ghost Rider either has to write the end, or Danny has to finish it himself. And does point and wonder if Danny has the chops to actually finish it, but before being hauled off by Walker and his goons, who have him arrested for breaking the Christmas truce. And Danny quickly realizes that he ultimately is the one who has to finish the Christmas play. Does continue with the narration in his head, pointing out that he understands that he's ruined Christmas for everyone, and he can only walk on in somber silence as he realizes that all of his loved ones were probably going to hate him. He looks in on Tucker and Sam's families, realizes he's destroyed their Christmas, and proceeds to walk off alone. At which point, Sam and Tucker proceed to console him, pointing out that he really shouldn't be out on his own on Christmas, pointing out that all of his loved ones should really, be there to support him. But of course, we find out that Danny admits that he's responsible for ruining everybody's Christmas. He understands that Danny has ultimately destroyed he's ultimately destroyed all the presents, all the trees, and knows that that it'll take some sort of miracle to actually fix anything. At which point, all the presents miraculously fix themselves and start flying off to various houses. With of course, Danny proceeding to wonder who could possibly have done this. At which point, he hears the Bach Ghost blur out his signature "Beware" and turns around expecting a fight, but instead discovers all of his enemies have gathered together to help him fix Christmas. And admits that and of course Skulker admits that while tomorrow they will be back to being enemies and he'll demonstrate his new weapons on Danny, he does point out that even half ghosts like Danny are subject to the Christmas truce, and that even they have to make amends with him. So with that, all of his enemies then proceed to use their ghost powers to fix Christmas in various ways. Obviously, Technus uses his ghost powers to fix the Christmas lights for everybody, so they have Christmas lights again. While obviously the Box Ghost uses his ghost powers to return all the presents, since conveniently they're all in boxes. Again, as I said, the Box Ghost's powers are circumstantial based on what's in them. In this case, his powers are beneficial here because he's using them to move presents back to where they're supposed to be, which I find kind of very wholesome. But and then obviously Desiree uses her wish magic to restore all the trees, with Danny and his friends purposely bringing it to the house of the one kid that we were told likes Danny. And overall, eventually everybody just fixes up everybody's houses. Everybody uses their ghost powers to restore everybody's living rooms back to normal. But then we find out there is exactly one house that is not left that has not been fixed yet. Danny's. And of course, Skulker does proceed to point out that obviously the ghost shield prevents him from going inside. So he tells them that Danny will have to do the rest. And Danny, realizing that he knows exactly what to do, does thank them for all of their help before going inside. At which point, he apologizes for ruining everybody's Christmas, and gives everybody exactly what they need to fix their Christmas, giving them presents, fixing their decorations, giving them all a bunch of everything. And of course, Maddie and Jack do apologize to Danny, pointing out that they're the reason he's hated Christmas for so long, because obviously they keep arguing about whether Santa Claus is real. But it's at this point where Jack then proceeds to see outside that that all of Danny's enemies have piled into a sleigh and are about to fly off with all the ghost reindeer that the Ghost Rider created. And of course Jack starts trying to blast at them, but Manny tells him not to because that was obviously Santa Claus. And but then of course Jack proceeds to point out that was no Santa Claus, and that was actually the ghost that possessed their RV last week. So with that, they then proceed to team up against the ghost to go chase them down, with the ghost just leaving and going into the ghost zone without that. But In any case, ultimately, as a result, Danny then proceeds to learn his lesson, pointing out that he's happy that he's finally able to restore their Christmas. At which point, it's revealed that he's no longer needs to talk in rhyme, and people have since noticed that he's been talking in rhyme. So he realizes he's out of the story, and has finally finished it. At which point, the ghostwriter, now satisfied, closes his second edition of the Fright Before Christmas, and is very happy that Danny learned a lesson. But of course, this is at this point where Walker proceeds to mess with him, holding up an orange with, of course, after they get to the prison, with of course the ghostwriter telling him to get that thing the hell away from him. So yeah, that's how the episode ends. So obviously, again, the ghostwriter isn't, well, I guess the ghostwriter is evil, but not in the way you think, because obviously he's pissed off about Danny destroying his Christmas poem and being seemingly remorseless about it. So obviously he trapped Danny in the Christmas poem to get him to learn a lesson about the true meaning of Christmas. But of course, he decided to proceed to teach Danny that lesson by ruining Christmas for everybody else and making Danny the culprit behind it. So obviously not. So obviously he is evil. He tried to ruin Christmas and blame Danny. Obviously that's pretty damn evil. But and of course there's a reason the other ghosts hate him. Obviously, he's ruined Christmas, which the other ghosts point out he's not supposed to do on Christmas. He's not supposed to do something evil on Christmas. He's just supposed to let bygones be bygones, at least until December 26th. But I do like the Christmas special because obviously the fact that it's a Christmas rhyme is fun. I do like that they deliberately made everything rhyme. It's great. And I obviously did not do the rhymes, but it's fun. It's a very fun episode, and I do like it as a Christmas special. But obviously, about Danny, being kind of a Christmas Scrooge, had to learn the true meaning of Christmas by, learning that the ghostwriter had a point that he shouldn't just hate something just because it's Christmas associated. Obviously, now Danny understands that Christmas is about making merry with your loved ones, and in this case, also his enemies as well, who put aside their animosity to celebrate Christmas with him and help him restore Christmas. I do like that as well. Again, it shows that the other ghosts that do have a sense of morals and are willing to let bygones be bygones and join Danny both against a common enemy, but also celebrate Christmas with him. I like that. But yeah, overall, it is a fun episode. It is a very fun Christmas special, and I do like what it does. But in case that's going to do it for my review of Danny Phantom, what you guys think, let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter in the description below. Be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It does really help me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of perks that are my way of saying thanks. So be sure to go check those out. But also be sure to go check out my Discord because we're going to be doing a horror movie watch along at the end of the month. So please go do that. And please go join the Discord so we can do that. Also be sure to go and check out my Twitch because we are streaming horror games all month. I previously did 2 of them that I need to upload, even though I kind of scuffed them a little bit. I didn't quite finish one, but that's okay, because I'll play it some other time. But presumably when I'm not trying to play a bunch of different games for Danny Phantom month, but after that, sometime after that. But also finally, if you want to see more content from me, then be sure to check out the videos linked in the end screen. The playlist, but top playlist is Mangus Month. I did that for my birthday last year, so please go check that out. I did work hard on that one, although there's less content to it because it's a smaller series. Whereas the bottom video is Courage Month, which was the most recent one of these that I did, and is of course the episode and of course is the one that I did for Halloween 2 years ago. So please go check that out. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching. As the next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!